I thought I was safe at my friend's place. Until his mom started asking questions. I never imagined that rain could feel heavier inside a heart than it did on skin. But that night, as thunder rolled across the sky like distant warning drums and water streamed down my hair and clothes, I stood on the porch of my friend Ethan's house with nowhere else to go. I had left home in anger, an argument gone too far, emotions pushed past limits, and words spoken that couldn't be taken back. I thought staying at Ethan's place for a few days would give everyone time to calm down. I thought I would be safe there. I thought things would slowly make sense again. But safety isn't always about shelter, sometimes it's about being seen, understood, asked the right questions, questions I tried so hard to avoid. If you're watching this and you believe everyone deserves kindness and a second chance, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. The rain didn't stop when Ethan opened the door. His shirt was covered in dirt like he'd been working outside, and his breath was heavy as if he'd been running. His eyes widened when he saw me shivering on his porch, arms wrapped tightly around myself. He didn't ask what happened right away, he didn't need to. There are some pains that show long before words catch up. He just motioned me inside with a silent nod, bringing me into warm light that made my wet clothes feel even colder. I stood there for a moment, dripping onto the wooden floor, unsure if I had made the right decision by coming. I had always been the type of person who hid things behind silent smiles, who buried hurt beneath jokes and loud laughter. But that night everything felt too heavy to carry alone. My voice trembled as I explained I needed a place to stay, just for a night or two. Ethan didn't hesitate, he told me I could take the guest room, that everything would be fine. The word fine felt distant, like a memory instead of a promise, but I clung to it anyway. Ethan handed me a towel, told me he'd get something warm to drink, then disappeared into the kitchen. And that's when I heard the soft footsteps behind me. I turned and saw his mom standing there, a gentle-looking woman with eyes that didn't just look, they noticed. She had a calm presence, a quiet strength that radiated even in silence. But something in her gaze made my chest tighten. I could tell she saw more than just a wet, cold teenager at her door. She saw someone running. She didn't speak right away, and neither did I. The house was warm, the air thick with the scent of cinnamon and old wooden drawers. In the distance, rain hammered against the roof like persistent fingers. I expected her to lecture me about showing up unannounced or causing trouble. Instead, she brought me a blanket, draped it around my shoulders, and guided me toward the living room where a small fireplace flickered. The flames reflected in her eyes like tiny reminders that warmth still existed in this world, even when everything inside felt frozen. For the first hour, no one asked anything. Ethan played soft music from his room, his mom busied herself in the kitchen, and I stared into the flames trying to forget the sharp words exchanged at home, the feeling of betrayal, the hopelessness that wrapped around me like a shadow. I tried to convince myself I didn't need anyone to understand. I just needed time. But time is strange, it doesn't heal if you spend it running. Eventually, Ethan went to sleep, the house settling into silence. That's when his mom finally spoke. She didn't ask what happened in a demanding way, her voice was gentle, steady, almost whispering through the crackling firelight. She asked if I was okay. It should have been the easiest question to answer, yet I couldn't even look at her. She waited patiently, hands resting in her lap, not pushing, not rushing. That patience was more disarming than any interrogation. I shrugged, saying I just needed space from home. But she didn't stop there. She asked about the kind of pain that hides behind simple words like space. She asked if I felt unheard, unseen, misunderstood. Her questions were soft but precise, like she had lived through storms of her own and learned how to trace the lightning back to the clouds. I tried to stay strong, to hold back everything I had tucked away inside. But when someone asks the right question at the right time, walls crumble. Tears slipped down before I even realized it, dripping silently onto my hands. I hated crying in front of people, it made me feel weak, exposed. But she didn't look at me like I was weak. She looked at me like she understood the weight of trying to be strong all the time. I told her everything, not in a dramatic rush, but in fragments that pieced themselves together between breaths. The constant pressure at home, expectations I could never quite reach, arguments that built up like storm clouds until the thunder finally broke. I confessed I felt invisible, even in my own house. That every time I tried to speak, someone talked louder. That every time I opened up, someone dismissed how I felt. I told her I ran away not to escape responsibility, but to escape feeling like I didn't matter. Her eyes softened even more, and she leaned closer, not to invade my space, but to show she was present. She told me something I didn't expect. Sometimes the bravest thing a person can do isn't staying strong, it's admitting they're hurting. Strength isn't silence, it's honesty. I stayed awake long after she went to bed, staring at the dying flames as thoughts ran wild. I wondered if my parents were worried or relieved. I wondered if going back would fix anything or just repeat the cycle. But slowly, warmth spread through me, not from the fire, but from being listened to. Truly listened to. The next morning sunlight filtered gently through the curtains, warm and golden. I woke up feeling lighter, not because everything was solved, but because something inside me had shifted. Ethan's mom made breakfast and didn't pry. Instead, she made space, space to breathe, space to think, space to exist without judgment. And that kind of space is rare. Days passed, and with each one I found myself opening up a little more. I helped around the house, cooked meals, sat with Ethan and his mom in the evenings watching the rain come and go. I still felt the ache of home, but something else grew alongside it, clarity. I realized running could only take me so far. I had to return eventually, but I didn't have to return as the same version of myself who left. One night, as rain returned like a reminder of how this all began, Ethan's mom asked if I had thought about going back. Her tone wasn't demanding, only hopeful. I admitted I was scared, scared of being unheard again, scared of falling into old patterns, scared that nothing would change. But she placed a gentle hand on mine and said sometimes we are the change. Sometimes the first step to being heard is learning to speak firmly, not loudly, but honestly. She said home may not always understand at first, but conversations have to start somewhere, and someone has to start them. Her words echoed inside me like steady heartbeats. I realized that running had bought me time, but healing required returning. Not to surrender, but to rebuild. The day I decided to go back was warm and bright, a complete opposite of the night I arrived. Ethan stood by the door with a worried expression, but his mom smiled softly, like she already knew this moment would come. She hugged me, not like a guest, but like someone whose story mattered to her. And in that embrace, I felt something I didn't know I craved, acceptance. The car ride home felt long, each passing street carrying memories. My heart pounded as we pulled into the driveway. I saw the front door open, my parents standing there, faces tired, eyes red. I stepped out slowly, unsure what to expect. But the moment I approached, everything I feared seemed to melt. My mother pulled me into her arms, crying harder than I'd ever seen. My father placed a hand on my back, voice breaking as he apologized, not just for the argument, but for all the times that